You call this an hour to come home? Mafia boss loses control when his maid walks in at 3 a.m. The penthouse was silent. Manhattan was not. But Michell didn't hear the sirens below or the taxi horns bleeding through the glass. He heard only one thing, the slow, deliberate ticking of the clock that mocked him from across the room. 2:47 a.m. He stood barefoot in the dim wash of city light, sleeves rolled to his elbows, the first buttons of his shirt undone like he'd tried to relax and failed. A glass of untouched whiskey hung from his fingers. He hadn't blinked in minutes. His gaze was locked on the elevator doors. She was late again. Bella Wick had a habit of slipping under his skin like this, quiet, warm, persistent. She laughed like she didn't know he was dangerous, spoke to him like she didn't care about his reputation. And last night, he'd seen her standing too close to Jackson Costa, his right-hand man, his greatest problem when it came to boundaries. 5 seconds of watching them in the kitchen. Hours of being bothered by it. He told himself it wasn't jealousy. He knew he was lying. Then, a chime. The elevator. John didn't move. Didn't breathe. He let the darkness hide the tension carved into his jaw as the doors slid open. Bella stepped out like she was returning from a life he had no permission to see. Coat halfway buttoned. Hair windswept. High heels dangling from her fingers. Cheeks flushed from either cold or excitement. Her eyes met his. She froze. "Oh crap," she whispered. John stepped out of the shadows, one slow, controlled movement at a time. "Is this your idea of an hour to come home?" She pressed a hand to her chest. "Why are you standing there like a horror movie villain?" "You scared me." "I wasn't hiding," he said. "I was waiting." She blinked quickly. "You were waiting for—" He ignored the question. "Do you call this an hour to walk into my home?" "My shift ended early," Bella said defensively. "I was out with friends. I have a life outside this penthouse." He took a step toward her. She stepped back, right into the elevator frame. "Which friends?" he asked quietly. "Jackson Costa." Her eyes flicked away for half a second. Half a second too long. John's jaw worked, muscles tight. "Unbelievable. We work together sometimes," she rushed out. "He comes by the kitchen. We talk. It's called being social." "At 3 in the morning," he said. "My feet hurt," she snapped, lifting the heels. "High heels exist." "And you were dancing," he murmured, sharper now. "Yes, John. Dancing. Humans do that sometimes." "Did he touch you?" She gaped. "I'm sorry, what?" "Jackson," he said, voice low. "Did he put his hands on you?" "That's none of your business." "So he did." "So you're insane," she shot back. "You sign my paycheck. You don't own my nights." He moved closer. Too close. Her breath stilled. "You live in my house," he said. "Under my protection. And when you walk in at this hour, alone, exhausted, ignoring your phone, yes. I care who you were with." The words hit her harder than they should have. "You care," she whispered. His throat bobbed once. "Hard. I care about security." "Right," she muttered. "Just my safety. Nothing else." Something flickered in his eyes. Jealousy, frustration, maybe something far more dangerous. He lifted a thumb to her bottom lip. "You missed some lipstick." Her breath vanished. "It's mine," she whispered. "Not anyone else's." His thumb lingered a moment too long. "Go to bed, Bella. We'll talk in the morning. I don't want more rules." "Then stop making me worry." Her heartbeat stumbled. "You were worried." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. It was written all over him, tension easing now that she was in front of him, shoulders lowering just slightly, breath evening out as though he had been holding it since midnight. "Good night," he said, voice softer. "Good night, John," she whispered, letting his name linger in the air. She walked away, steps bare and quiet on marble. He watched her until her door clicked shut. Only then did he exhale. Only then did he press a hand to his forehead. This wasn't normal. This wasn't professional. This wasn't safe. He was jealous. He was worried. And worst of all, he was losing his grip on the one person who made his home feel less like an empty cage. Bella woke hours later with a knot in her stomach. She couldn't shake the memory of him in the dark. The way he looked at her. The way he said, "You scared me." She tried not to overthink it. She failed. Downstairs, while she prepared coffee with trembling hands, the elevator chimed again. She stiffened. John stepped into the kitchen, crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, hair damp from a shower. Too calm. Too unreadable. "Morning," she said, offering a mug. "Morning." Their fingers brushed. Both pretended not to react. Neither succeeded. "We should talk about last night," he said. "Nope," she replied quickly. "I haven't had caffeine yet." He ignored her. "The rules stay. You can't come home at 3 a.m. without notifying someone." "You don't own me." "I'm not trying to." His eyes softened. "I'm trying to keep you safe." Her stomach twisted. The elevator dinged again. Jackson Costa strolled in with a smirk. "Morning, sunshine." John's jaw flexed so hard the muscle jumped. Jackson winked at her. John snapped. "Outside." "No." When the kitchen cleared, Bella crossed her arms. "What was that?" "He doesn't know his place." He was being friendly. "You're jealous." John scoffed. "I am not." "You kind of are." He took a slow breath, stepped closer, eyes locked on hers. "Bella, I didn't sleep last night." Her pulse jumped. "Because of you," he said quietly. "Because I didn't know where you were. Because I kept imagining the worst. Because—" He stopped. She waited. He didn't finish. "We're not done. Come to my office after breakfast." Oh, joy! He almost smiled. Almost. And that was when everything truly began. Bella moved through the penthouse that morning like a ghost. Sheets changed. Towels folded. Counters wiped until they gleamed. But her thoughts kept circling the same moments on repeat. John in the dark. John saying, "You scared me." John admitting he hadn't slept. And worst of all, John slipping and saying, "I flirt with you." Every time she remembered it, her stomach dipped like she'd stepped off a ledge. By late afternoon, she stood in the guest room adjusting the duvet when her phone buzzed. She checked it lazily, then froze. "Bakery manager. Reminder, you're on for the night shift today. We really need you." Her pulse stumbled. Right. The bakery. Her second job. The job John couldn't know about. Not yet, anyway. Not when she had promised him, "Tonight, I'll tell you everything." She sank onto the edge of the bed, staring at the message. If she went, she'd be out late again, past midnight. Again disappearing. Again breaking his rules. Again risking that expression he'd worn last night, equal parts fury and fear. But if she didn't go, bills, tryst, consequences she couldn't outrun. Another buzz. "Manager, please confirm. We're short-staffed." Bella chewed her lip. She typed back, "Yes. I'll be there," and threw the phone aside like it burned. Tonight, she would work. Tomorrow, she would confess everything. A terrible plan. She chose it anyway. Around 5, Bella was folding towels in the laundry room when a voice appeared behind her like a shadow. "So," Jackson Costa drawled, leaning on the doorframe, "are we pretending today is normal, or are we embracing chaos?" She nearly flung a towel at him. Do you ever walk like a normal human? Only when I'm annoying people who actually care about me. He grinned. You're welcome. She rolled her eyes. Congratulations, you've succeeded. He stepped inside, dropping the smirk for something gentler. You okay? I'm fine. That's a lie. Jackson. You want to try again? She sighed, deflated. I made a promise, and I'm about to break it. To the boss. She nodded. Jackson whistled low. Bad idea. I have a shift. Bakery, he guessed. Another nod. He rubbed his jaw. You tell him yet? No, she groaned. Don't start. Bella, he said, arms crossing, tone softening. I get it. You don't want him knowing you're drowning. But if you disappear again tonight, he's not just gonna be mad. I know. No, you don't. Jackson stepped closer. He'll be scared. And when he's scared, he gets intense. I'll leave a note, she muttered weakly. Or a text. A note, he repeated, horrified. What are you, a runaway teenager? He's not gonna read a note. He's gonna walk out of his office, not see you, and go straight into full disaster mode. I'll text him. Girl, he'll still show up at the bakery like a hurricane with feelings. She pressed a hand over her face. I can't skip. I need the money. Jackson studied her for a long beat, then nodded once. I'm driving you. You don't have to. I do, he said. Because if he finds out you went alone, he'll yell at me, not you. And I'm extremely attached to not dying. She snorted. He wouldn't kill you. He might. At 5:45 p.m., Bella stood in her small bedroom pulling on jeans and a simple black t-shirt for the bakery. Hair tied back. Phone shoved in her pocket. She paused at her desk. A notepad sat there, blank. She picked it up. Wrote nothing. Put it down again. He deserved more than a scrap of paper. She slipped out instead. Jackson waited in the elevator. Second time in 2 days, he said. You sure? No, she whispered. But I'm going. At least you're honest. As the doors closed, Jackson muttered, He's gonna explode. I'll deal with it tomorrow. That's what you said yesterday. Meanwhile, in his office, John hung up a call and rubbed his temples. The day had been smooth, business-wise. No fires. No betrayals. No problems. He should have felt relief. He felt restless instead. He checked the time. 6:12 p.m. He expected a knock. A shy glance in the doorway. A soft, about last night. Nothing. 10 minutes passed. Still nothing. The quiet in the penthouse felt wrong. Hello. He stood abruptly and strode down the hall. Bella. No answer. Kitchen. Empty. Laundry room. Empty. Guest rooms. Empty. His chest began to tighten. Not again. He walked faster now, stopping at her door. Knocked. Waited. Nothing. He opened it. The bed made. The lamp off. No Bella. A notepad sat on her desk. Blank. She almost left a note. Almost. His jaw locked. He called her. Straight to voicemail. Again. Again. Heat rose in his chest, anger fused with something far more suffocating. He called Jackson. The line picked up instantly. Boss. Hey. Before you yell. Where is she? Silence. Jackson. She has a shift. Where? At the bakery. Night shift. I drove her. John closed his eyes, fury and fear crashing together. She has a second job, he said slowly. And you knew. She wanted to tell you tonight. Tonight, he repeated bitterly. and instead she walked out again. She was scared, Jackson said quietly. Not of needing you. That hit John square in the chest. Give me the address, he said. Jackson did. Stay where you are. You're going there? Jackson asked. Yes. Boss, breathe first. You're very burning down the city energy right now. John hung up, grabbed his coat, went straight to the private elevator. He didn't know what he'd say when he saw her. He only knew one thing. He was done watching Bella Wick struggle alone. The bakery glowed like a lantern on the corner of the street. Warm lights, soft chatter, the smell of sugar floating into the cold night. Inside, Bella tied her apron and tried to breathe normally. A teenage girl asked for a cinnamon roll. A retired man wanted coffee. Someone spilled powdered sugar near the register. Her hands worked. Her mind couldn't stop replaying the same words. Tonight, I'll tell you everything. Every time the bell above the door chimed, her heart jerked. She expected him. She feared him. She wanted him. He didn't come. Not at 7 o'clock. Not at 8:30. Not at 9 o'clock. Just maybe, he hadn't noticed she was gone yet. At 9:06 p.m., the doorbell chimed again. Bella turned, smile ready. It died instantly. John Michell stepped inside. Black coat. Dark eyes. A stillness that didn't belong in a place that smelled like cinnamon and vanilla. He didn't look left, right, or at the pastry displays. He looked only at her. "Oh, no," she whispered, eyes widening. "No, no, no." He walked toward the counter slowly, with a kind of controlled intensity that made the air feel heavier with every step. "Bella," he said quietly, voice too calm to be safe. She gripped the counter. "Hi." "You're working," he said. "Yes." "You left without telling me." "You were on a call," she argued, cheeks burning. "I didn't want to interrupt." His brows drew together, the smallest sign of hurt, real hurt. "I waited," he said simply. She blinked. "For what?" He stared at her like she had genuinely asked the most unbelievable question. "For you." Her throat tightened. "We were supposed to talk tonight," he continued softly. "But instead, you slipped out of my home and came here again." "I had a shift," she whispered. "You're exhausted," he replied. "You take care of my home all day, and then you work here all night. When do you rest?" "When I can." "That's not an answer." "It's the truth." A timer beeped behind her. Someone called her name from the kitchen. A small line began forming at the far end of the counter. "I have to work," she said, voice small. "We can't do this here." "We're not doing anything," he said. "You are working yourself into the ground." Her frustration ignited. "I'm trying to pay my bills, John. That's all. You could have told me." "I didn't want you to see me like this," she snapped. "Flour on my face, smelling like sugar, juggling 2 jobs because I can't breathe otherwise." "I see you every day," he whispered, "and not once have I thought less of you." Her breath caught. Another call from the kitchen. Orders piling up. She stepped back. "John," she said shakily, "I really have to finish my shift." He held her gaze. Long quiet. A silent argument. Then he said the words that made her knees weaken. "I'll wait." "You don't have to." "I will wait." "Why?" His voice softened, dangerous, intimate. "Because I'm not pretending I didn't see this. And I'm not letting you walk home alone at midnight again." Her heart twisted painfully. "You can't keep saving me." "I'm not saving you," he said. "I'm staying." "That's different." He stepped away, walked to an empty table in the corner, sat down, and simply stayed. No phone. No impatience. No tapping fingers. Just a man in a black coat sitting in a tiny bakery waiting for the woman who worked there like she was the only thing that mattered on his schedule tonight. Time dragged and rushed all at once. One customer after another. One pan of pastries after another. Every time she glanced up, he was still there. Watching her. Not possessively. Not angrily. Protectively. When the last customer left and the lights dimmed for closing, Bella felt her pulse in her throat. Hands trembling, she untied her apron and stepped outside. Cold air wrapped around her like a warning. John was already by the door, coat on, hands in pockets. Still waiting. As if he always would. "You didn't have to wait outside," she said. "I did," he murmured. "You knew I would." She looked down at her shoes. "I promised you tonight." "Then tell me," he said gently, "why are you working this hard? Why hide it from me?" She swallowed, looked away. The truth tasted humiliating. "Because it's embarrassing." "Embarrassing." John stepped closer. "You work 2 jobs. You hold my entire household together. You come home exhausted and still show up the next day. What part of that is embarrassing?" "All of it," she whispered. "Bella," he said softly, "look at me." She lifted her eyes. "Nothing about you is embarrassing." Her breath trembled. "You don't know everything." "Then tell me everything." The cold pressed against them. The warm light from the bakery spilled over the sidewalk. Something inside her chest cracked open. "My life before your penthouse," she whispered. "It wasn't easy." His jaw tightened. "What happened?" "Bills," she said. "Medical. Rent. Interest. One emergency after another until I couldn't catch up. I'm drowning, John. I have been for months." His eyes darkened, not with judgment, but with something protective and fierce. "Your debt," he said quietly. She nodded, shame washing over her. "And you were dealing with this alone," he murmured. Another nod. He looked like that broke something in him. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. "Because you're my boss," she whispered. "Because I didn't want you to see me as weak. I didn't want you to think I needed saving." He stepped forward slowly. "You're not weak," he said. "And you don't need saving. But you shouldn't drown alone." Her eyes filled instantly. "John," she whispered. He lifted a hand. Hesitated. Then brushed his fingers along her cheek. "Let me understand," he murmured. "Please." She closed her eyes, leaning into his touch for one stolen second. And when she opened them, she whispered the truth he wasn't ready for, but needed to hear. "I'm scared." He exhaled, deep and slow. "So am I." And that was the moment everything between them changed. The car ride back to the penthouse felt nothing like the one to the bakery. Earlier, everything between them had been sharp edges. Fear, pressure, secrets waiting to detonate. Now the air inside the car was heavy with something entirely different. Something warm. Something trembling. Something that felt like the beginning of a line neither of them could step back from once crossed. Every few seconds, Bella felt John glance at her. Not to interrogate her. Not to scold her. Just to make sure she was still there. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling in her lap. She tried to hide it. She failed. When they reached the private elevator, John placed a hand at the small of her back, a slow, steady touch guiding her inside. Not possessive. Not controlling. Just careful. Like she mattered. The doors slid shut, sealing them into a small, quiet space where even the softest breath felt loud. Bella stared ahead, pulse racing. "John." He didn't pretend he didn't hear the shake in her voice. He stepped a little closer. "Your hands," he said softly. "They're still shaking. I'm just tired." "No," his voice dipped. "This isn't tired. She dared to look up at him. "You're nervous," he murmured. "Because of me." A beat. Then she whispered, "Definitely because of you." His expression shifted, something dark, warm, vulnerable passing through him like her honesty had cracked open a door he'd been holding shut for years. "Bella," he said quietly, "you don't have to be afraid of me." "I'm not afraid," she said. "I'm overwhelmed." He moved toward her, one slow, deliberate step. "Then we're both overwhelmed." The elevator chimed. She flinched. He didn't move at all. When the doors opened, the penthouse was dim, just soft pools of light along the hallway. He didn't turn toward the kitchen or the living room. He walked upstairs instead. And she followed. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. His footsteps were measured, almost too calm for the tension stretching between them. At the top of the staircase, he turned. The look on his face rooted her to the spot. "Bella," he said, voice deep, steady, carrying a weight he never let anyone hear. "Before we go any further, I need you to understand something." She held her breath. He stepped closer, slow, controlled, like every inch was a confession. "I'm not drawn to you because you work for me," he said quietly, "or because I feel responsible for you. I'm drawn to you because you're the one person who's made this house feel less empty." Her chest tightened. "And when you come home late," he whispered, "I wait. Not because of rules. Because I worry. Because I care more than I should." Her voice was barely there. "John." He lifted a hand, not touching her yet, just hovering, warm, hesitant. "I'm trying to be respectful," he said. "Trying to give you space. Trying to keep myself controlled." "Why?" she whispered. "Because once I start with you," his breath brushed her cheek, "I won't want to stop." Her heartbeat stumbled. "You say you want me," she murmured, "but then you step back." He stared at her for a long, burning second. Then he took her hand. Not gently, not roughly, but like he was done fighting himself. He pulled her closer, their bodies inches apart. "I stepped back," he whispered, "because if I kissed you, I wouldn't stop." Her voice trembled. "Then don't stop." His restraint shattered. He kissed her. Not cautiously. Not politely. He kissed her like a man who had spent months trying not to touch her and was finally done pretending. One hand slid to her jaw, guiding her exactly where he wanted her. Her fingers clenched the front of his shirt as if anchoring herself to him. The kiss was slow at first, deep, warm, savoring the shape of her mouth like he'd imagined it every night. Then she kissed him back, matching his hunger, and a low sound escaped his chest, raw, unguarded. His other hand slid to her lower back, pulling her flush against him. She gasped softly. He swallowed the sound. When they finally broke apart, breathing uneven, he rested his forehead against hers. "I knew it," he whispered. "One kiss would never be enough." Her lips trembled. "Kiss me again." He did. This one slower, more deliberate, almost reverent. Like he was memorizing every part of her. When they separated, she leaned into his touch, dizzy with warmth. He brushed her cheek with his thumb. "I've wanted this for so long." "Me too," she whispered. He closed his eyes for a moment, overwhelmed. When he opened them again, she saw everything he'd been hiding. "If I hold you tonight," he murmured, "will you still be here in the morning?" Her breath caught. "Yes," she whispered. "I'll be here." A quiet, relieved exhale left him, like she'd just given him the one thing he never knew he needed. "Then come here," he said softly. She stepped into him. He wrapped his arms around her, slow and careful, holding her like she was something cherished, not possessed, not controlled, cherished. Her head rested against his chest. His hand slid up her back. Their breathing synced. It felt terrifying. It felt right. It felt like something new. After a long moment, She lifted her face. "What happens now?" He brushed a kiss across her forehead, gentle, sincere. "Now," he murmured, "we stop pretending." Heat warmed her cheeks. "And tomorrow?" His smile was small, unguarded, rare. "Tomorrow," he said, "I'm taking you on a real date." She blinked. "A date?" "Yes." "Dinner. Just us." "And after dinner?" she whispered without thinking. A low, warm laugh escaped him. "After dinner," he murmured, thumb brushing the corner of her mouth, "I plan to kiss you again. As many times as you'll let me." Her pulse jumped wildly. "And after that?" His eyes darkened into something deep and devoted. "After that," he said softly, "we figure out what it means for you to be mine, and for me to be yours." Her breath caught. He didn't kiss her again, not then. But the promise of it hung in the air between them like heat. Much later, in his bedroom, his phone buzzed. One message. John read it. His expression changed. Bella noticed instantly. "Is something wrong?" she whispered. He shut off the screen. "We'll talk when we get home," he said. But something came up. What came up? He looked at her with a seriousness that made her stomach drop. "It's about your debt." And just like that, the night wasn't over. Not even close. The ride back to the penthouse was nothing like the drive home from the bakery. Earlier, the air had been warm and electric, thick with the taste of their first kiss. Now it was tighter, heavier, like the city outside was holding its breath with her. Bella watched John's profile in the dim glow of passing streetlights. His jaw was set, his grip on the steering wheel firm, too controlled. Something was bothering him. Something big. "John," she whispered, "what about my debt?" He didn't answer immediately. He exhaled once, quiet, steady, protective. "We'll talk upstairs," he said. "Not here." Her stomach knotted. When they reached the penthouse, the door had barely closed behind them before John walked toward the large window, bracing his hands on the glass frame. His shoulders rose and fell once, as if he were choosing every word. Bella stood near the sofa, unsure whether to step closer or run. "John," she whispered, "you're scaring me." He turned and walked toward her slowly, carefully, as if she might break. "I need you to believe me," he said. "I do." He studied her face, making sure. Then he spoke. "Your debt wasn't safe." Her brows pulled together. "What does that even mean?" "It wasn't just expensive," he said, moving closer. "It was dangerous. High interest from the wrong people. People who don't forgive a missed payment. People who look at someone like you and see opportunity." Her breath trembled. "Opportunity for what?" "For control," he said softly. "For leverage. For getting to you." She stepped back, heart pounding. "How do you know this?" He hesitated for the smallest moment. "Because I looked into it," he said. "I needed to know what was hurting you so much." Her throat tightened. "When?" "A few days ago." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted to hear it from you first," he said. "I wanted you to trust me enough to let me in." Her eyes stung. "John." "There's more," he murmured. Fear crawled up her spine. "What else?" He took a slow breath like a man bracing for impact. "Someone tried to buy your debt before I did." Her blood went cold. "Buy it," she whispered. "Why?" He swallowed, voice low. "Because he'd seen you around the building. Saw you working. Saw you being kind. And he thought if he held your debt, he could own a piece of your life." A sickening wave rolled through her. "But I stopped it," John said immediately, stepping closer. "Nothing happened. I bought it first. I shut it down before it could even move forward." She pressed a hand to her chest. "Why? Why would someone do that? Because some men don't understand boundaries, he said. And some men think kindness means weakness. Her voice trembled. Who was he? You don't need to worry about him, John said, jaw tightening. He won't come near you again. The certainty in his tone made her shiver. Not from fear, from safety. Bella swallowed, voice barely audible. Why are you telling me this now? He took another step toward her, hands gentle as they reached her arms. Because you need the whole truth before I say the next part. Her pulse quickened. The next part. He exhaled, deep and raw. Bella, I paid your debt. The world stopped. Her lips parted. She didn't breathe. You what? She whispered. I paid it, he repeated. All of it. She stepped back like the floor had shifted beneath her. Without asking me, she said, voice breaking. Yes. Why would you do that? Because you were drowning, he said, stepping toward her. Because you were breaking yourself trying to survive. Because watching you suffer tore something apart in me. Her chest tightened painfully. John, I should have handled it alone. No, he said firmly, taking her hands. You handled it alone for too long. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't want to be a burden. You are not a burden, he said, eyes burning with sincerity. Not to me. Not ever. She shook her head, crying softly. This isn't fair. You had no obligation to do this. I know, he said. That's why I did it. Her breath hitched. So I owe you now. His answer came instantly. You owe me nothing. Nothing had ever sounded more genuine. Her tears fell. He wiped them gently with his thumb. I didn't do it because I'm your boss, he whispered. Or out of pity. I did it because I care about you. More than I should. More than I wanted to. More than I can control. She choked on a breath, overwhelmed. I'm scared, John. He stepped closer, lowering his forehead to hers. So am I, he whispered. Scared of going too fast. Scared of losing you. Scared of doing this wrong. Her hands gripped his shirt. Why are you doing this to me? He smiled softly, vulnerably. Because I fell in love with you, Bella. She gasped. The room seemed to tilt. You love me. He opened his eyes, letting her see everything he'd been hiding. I'm in love with you. Completely. She cupped his face with trembling hands. John, I feel something too. Something big. Something I don't know how to handle. He placed her hand over his heart. Handle it with me, he whispered. At your pace. In your way. Just let me be there. A tearful, emotional smile curved her lips. He kissed her, soft, deep, anchoring. A kiss filled with relief and devotion. When they parted, he held both her hands. Bella Wick, he said softly, will you be my girlfriend? She laughed through her tears. I thought you'd never ask. So, it's a yes, she said, breathless. John wrapped her into his arms, spinning her slightly, laughing against her neck, a sound she'd never heard from him before. You just made me the happiest man in the world. Weeks later, life shifted into something gentle. They cooked together, kissed in the kitchen while dinner burned, fell asleep tangled together, woke up smiling. He learned how to love softly. She learned how to be loved without fear. One quiet morning, Bella found a handwritten note on the counter. Good morning, my girl. I just wanted you to wake up knowing I love you. John. She held it to her chest, smiling so wide it hurt. She wasn't alone anymore. And he finally had something worth coming home